What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-hosts, Anthony Rivardo and Colin Alcaves. Today, we are going live ahead of Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Rangers are about to take on the Florida Panthers in just about a little bit over an hour. But, the boys got a little bit of plans beforehand, so we're doing it a little bit early than our usual, an hour before puck drop. So today, for the next little while, we're going to be discussing this upcoming series, answering any of your questions, anything that you guys want us to talk about. So throughout this live stream, please blow up that live chat right now. Anything you want us to talk about, we certainly will. But before we really get into all that good stuff, make sure that you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. Like I said, fill up that live chat. And the most important thing, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers for constant updates throughout the game and throughout the remainder of this series, the playoffs, the offseason, and more. So we're going to dive right into everything that you guys want to hear. But before we really do that, Colin, welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm fired up. I'm a little nervous. This Panthers team is going to be quite the challenge for the Rangers, but I don't think it's anything that they can't handle. I've been constantly scouting tickets. I'm trying to get to either this round or if we make it to the next round, tickets to that as well. So, who knows? Maybe later this series. I know you boys are talking about going. I'm going to try and get some tickets of my own up here in New York.
We're not even talking about going anymore. Me and Anthony are officially locked in. We're going to Game 4. So to any viewers out there that are in the Florida area, come to Game 4. DM us on Twitter or Instagram. Maybe we'll meet up, have a little bit of a fan meetup. But Anthony, welcome to the stream. I see you have some new attire on. Tell me about that.
Baby's first Rangers jersey. I got my Trocheck on. Came in the mail today. Perfect timing. Game 1 tonight. So I'm very happy that it arrived on time. It took forever for this thing to get here. I mean, I talked about it a couple of weeks ago on a live stream, how I finally ordered a Trocheck jersey. So it's finally here. Happy about it. I'm going to wear it hopefully throughout the series. Unless it just brings a terrible wave of bad luck. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to bring good luck. And I'm hoping that when we do go to that game in South Florida, Game 4, that we watch them close it out. Wouldn't that be nice? Very unlikely, but I'll have this on the whole way there.
Extremely unlikely, but as Will always says, the superstition is that you wear a jersey until we lose. I'm on my third jersey of the playoffs so far, which is honestly surprising. Heading to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm only on my third jersey, and I'm still rocking with Igor, of course. Lafreniere went on an absolute incredible hot streak of 7 straight. The Kakko jersey had arguably the worst run of all time. And then now we just have Igor moving forward. But we got a couple people in the chat here that are stopping by to say hello. Roderick, one of our longtime fans. We want the cup. Yes, sir, we do. Rangers are 8-2, and we only have 8 more wins to go. Think about it. Rangers can go 8-6 at the worst and still win the Stanley Cup. So I think the Rangers have that in them. As Joe says, are we ready for war, people? Let's go Rangers. I think war is the proper term to describe this upcoming series. We all know Florida, a very, very physical team. I've seen a lot of sports outlets calling them dirty. I don't know if I would go as far to call them dirty, but a very physical team that the Rangers are definitely going to have to match their energy. I think a big part of that would be having Matt Rempe in the lineup. But as the three of us know, I don't know about the people watching, we know that Rempe's not going to play. Filipino is in, Jimmy Vesey's in, Kakko's in. So I'm curious to know how we all feel about it personally. As the video that me and Anthony made 2 days ago, we were big on putting Filipino back in. Think it's the right decision, but at the same time, I feel like Rempe might be a necessity for this series over guys like Vesey or Kakko. So we'll see. Obviously, faith in Peter Laviolette stands. I think he's going to make the correct decision whatsoever. But upon first glance at the lineup, I'm like, maybe Rempe would be good to be on this lineup. But I don't know. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it.
I think to start it off, it's definitely important that you have a lot of skill coming out of the gate. I think that he'll, as we saw in that Hurricanes game, the one that he played in, he was just a threat. He had a couple good chances. I think it's important that they come out here and kind of throw all the offensive firepower out there now while they can. And then, once they get guys like kind of pegged as who's going to be like the bruisers, like we know that Sam Bennett and Matt Kachuk aren't afraid to throw the body around a little bit. But we kind of put the skill out there first, and then maybe down the line in the series we look to answer the bell, and that's when we toss in Rempe and things like that. But for now, I'm rocking with whatever Laviolette says. He's steered us right so far. I know Anthony's going to agree with that as a Laviolette lover himself. But I don't think that you kind of make a wrong move here. I think that that's the beauty of this team is the depth that they have. But personally, I think I would also go with Heedle as well.
Yeah, I'm in support of this move. I think that Philip Heedle, playoff performer, as we kind of mentioned last time we recorded, Eric, I think that he's one of those guys who elevates his game in the postseason, and the technical skill that he can provide to this team is necessary. I think that it's important going into a series like this with Florida. There's a whole lot of talent on the ice. I think you get your most talented guys out there that you can actually keep on the ice. Like we've talked about so many times, Laviolette doesn't feel comfortable having Rempe on the ice for an extended period of time. And I think that he's going to feel more comfortable putting Heedle out there, and Heedle is going to create more opportunities. And the Rangers ultimately won that game or that series against Carolina with quality shots, not quantity shots. But we do know that they need to improve the amount of shots that they're getting up. They do need to increase the quantity, even though the quality was there and those quality chances that they had, they converted, and that ultimately led to them winning the series. They need to create more opportunities. And I think that obviously putting Heedle on the ice gives you far more of a good chance to get opportunities, shots on goal, create some scoring chances, as opposed to putting Rempe on the ice and not having him play much.
I agree. I mean, Philip Heedle, playoff performer. Look back at what he did in the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2022. Him and the kid line entirely lit up the Lightning. Obviously, the series didn't go the way we wanted it to, but new team, Lafreniere's blossomed. Kakko has found himself in a nice defensive role. It's up to Philip Heedle to make the difference, in my opinion. So, obviously, like we said, trust in Laviolette and things will fall into place, and we're going to do awesome. My mom here asked what jerseys we're wearing. I already said Igor. Tony, you showed your Trocheck. I'm assuming you're also wearing Trocheck.
Yeah, this has been my really good jersey. The first couple of games that seven-game win streak, I wasn't paying attention to the jerseys I was wearing. I was kind of just rotating them all in, letting them all soak up a little bit of luck. I think it's my Panarin one is probably my worst right now. I know that's the case for you in the regular season. Panarin has not been your good one, Eric. So
my Panarin jersey is cursed. As much as I love him, we never win. I will not bring him out in the playoffs.
I figured I'd start strong with a guy who used to play for this team. He's been playing some of the best hockey of his career this season, and he's been absolutely lights out in these playoffs. So I figured I'd start strong with little Vinny T.
Yeah. I mean, the Trocheck Revenge Tour is in full swing. Started his career with the Panthers, played 7 years there, and then he played a few more years in Carolina before signing with the Rangers. So the Revenge Tour is in full effect. Who knows? And, just like you said about Carolina, he's like, it's just another series. He doesn't care. He knows a lot of guys on this Florida Panthers team. The relationships are definitely there. But I think the biggest relationship to me is the friendship between Artemi Panarin and Florida Panthers goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky. I think Panarin had a quote last night saying he's my best friend in the entire league. But please, Panarin, I'm sure you must love Bobrovsky, your fellow Russian brother, but just shoot the puck on him. Panarin's going to have to do something to his best friend here. Like, no offense, guys. If I was playing against y'all in a Stanley Cup playoff game, I'm trying my hardest. I'm going to knock your teeth out, or at least try to. But I don't know. The Panarin relationship, it might it's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. But I don't know. Speaking of Panarin, how are we feeling about him moving into the series?
Tony, you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll take it. I'm feeling fine. Obviously, we kind of were critical of him halfway through last series because he kind of did a little bit of a disappearing act and we all got worried, but he ended up clutching it out in the end. He just had a couple games where he didn't show up the way that we thought he would. But even going all the way back to the Capital series, if we remember kind of the conversations that we've had then, we were talking about how Panarin isn't necessarily putting up 7 shots on goal every game or even 3. Some games he's not even putting up any shots on goal, but he's not forcing anything. He's just playing his game and being patient. And he's not forcing himself into a box like we said last year when his confidence got shaken against New Jersey, and then he started forcing things and he wasn't playing his normal game. I think that what we're seeing right now is a more consistent version of Panarin. It's just there are some games where his playing style, I mean, the opposing teams, they're ready for it, and they end up slowing him down. But the Rangers do have depth, and they have talent across the board. But with Panarin, I just think that he needs to keep doing what he's doing. The opportunities will come. And again, this whole playoff run for the Rangers has not been about creating the most opportunities. It's been about maximizing the opportunities that you get and capitalizing on them. And I think Panarin, I'm still confident that he's going to continue to do that and create a lot of those opportunities himself, but absolutely maximize them and capitalize on them when they come.
You know, I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better myself. I think he knows what he has to do. I think obviously there's a lot of pressure looming on himself. I think he knows he wasn't the best player last series, but he wasn't the worst by far either. But there's definitely some games where if you're looking at the underlying metrics, his defensive numbers weren't there. So when he's not producing the offense and he's not doing so hot defensively, he kind of stands out a little bit more. So I think he knows that he has to kind of pop off a little bit this series. I think he knows how and where to beat Sergei because he played with him for a certain number of years. I think it was like 4 years in Columbus, something like that. So, you know, they have a lot of history together as previously.
It was like 2 years.
2 years? Oh, seems like a lot longer. Maybe not. But you know, they played together for a decent chunk of time. They're both from Russia, so I'm sure they trained in the offseason together. So he's got to know like his strong spots and his weak spots, hopefully, and he's able to pick apart his friend a little bit here and move on to that next round. But he's just got to make sure that, you know, he's not only doing that, but also setting up the guys around him and making good plays and not forcing it and things like that. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of him getting back to his game, as Tony was saying, and just kind of falling into place and doing what he does best.
I believe in the Panarin clutch. It's going to happen. We've had our doubts in the past about him being a playoff performer, but he's shown throughout these first 2 rounds of this year that he has what it takes to contribute in an environment like this. And will it translate to against a more brutal physical team like Florida? We'll find out, but more on that in exactly an hour. Christopher wants to know, are we all growing out our playoff beards? We talked about this like right before we hit record. I'm not. I shave like literally once every other day. And at first, when the playoffs started, I gave the first shave and I was like, yep, Rangers are going to choke this now. But we've kept winning, so I felt more comfortable doing it. I can't grow out a playoff beard. But I will say I'm really excited to see what a lot of these guys look like now. Like, is Kakko going to come out there with like a little Finnish blonde beard? Like, I don't know. Last time we saw him in the playoffs this deep, he was like 18. So I don't know. I'm really like, I think that's like the little parts of playoff hockey is I love seeing what the players look like with their playoff beards this late into it. And hopefully moving forward, like Lafreniere got to have a crazy beard right now. Like I'm so excited to see it, but that's just my take.
You know, I mean, it's always fun looking at the transformation. It's weird going into next season. Sometimes, you know, obviously they shave it in the off season. So going from full beard to baby face in the coming weeks, you know, after the parade and whatnot, hopefully, is always a strange sight. And seeing some of these guys with beards for the first time, obviously, you know, Filipino doesn't really grow a beard typically. So for him to maybe have one, that's pretty funny for me. I know I'm shaving. Unfortunately, my job requires it. I can't go to work looking too scruffy, but I keep the goatee going. So that's my good luck charm here.
I'm getting a little scruffy, but it's not really intentional. No playoff beard. I shaved last week. I got it trimmed down to my usual stubble. I just haven't touched it since. Only cleaned up the edges and probably just gonna rock with it until next week when I get my next haircut. So I'm just gonna keep growing it out until then. So we'll get an extra week of playoff beard before I trim it down. But definitely won't see me babyface. That's for sure. I'll keep the beard at least for the playoff run and hopefully for the next lifetime.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that the Rangers are still playing hockey in mid to late June, and Tony is just looking like a caveman or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I have the capacity to like really grow the thick full beard, so it would end up just being like this kind of nasty, patchy little thing that nobody wants to see.
You don't want to get the Jumbo Joe going, the Jumbo Joe beard.
If the Rangers are still in the playoffs that late to where it reaches that point, I think fans would be more than happy to see it. At least I would be, But
Yeah, speak for yourself.
we had a couple of people talking about jerseys. First of all, Edwin, welcome back to the live stream. Pavel, he wears a reverse retro Panarin.
Fire.
Diego says, go Rempy. Unfortunately, he's not playing. Ali is wearing Panarin right now after I talked about
Fire.
how my jersey is a little bit cursed. But GK20 wants to ask, who scores first for the Rangers tonight? I'm going to say the same name that I've said every single time in my game-winning goal predictions, Keandre Miller.
He has not scored yet, has he? So, I think he has one, actually. Didn't he have a shorty against – or no?
I think he had one.
He might have a shorty. He does.
Kaapo, I think he did.
Someone fact check us in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that he does have a shorty.
I'm probably going to pick – I'm going to go Mika. I think he's due for one. Yeah, it speaks for itself.
That's my choice.
I will say, let me clarify that, because a lot of times I just say
Power
Miller.
play too. Let me clarify that.
A lot of times I just say Miller because I just really want to see him succeed, because I know a lot of people hate on him and don't appreciate him for how good he is. So I just try to say it to manifest it. But with this series, it's actually like an analytical approach to it, or like thought, like a explanation. Where you look at this Florida team, they're very good defensively. They're very good at goaltending, and they're a very physical team. So the amount of times the Rangers are actually going to be able to enter the zone, set up shop, make multiple passes, and then set up like a one-timer, they're not going to – I mean, they're going to happen because the Rangers are good at that, but they're not going to be as frequent as they were against Washington, not as frequent as they were against Carolina. I think this series against Florida, we're going to see a decent amount of goals, or at least an increase in the amount of goals scored from the defensive unit, or at least deflections, where the defense is going to have it at the blue line, rip a shot on net, and either there's going to be traffic in front that it goes right through, or Kreider or Trocheck or someone is going to put in a rebound or deflect it in. I think that's going to be the type of series that's played right here, at least offensively. So I wouldn't be shocked if Keandre Miller or Adam Fox or even Ryan Lindgren or Trouba puts one in the night. So that's my actual analytical explanation for my choice. Before this, anytime I've ever said Miller, it's all just been for jokes. But this time, I fully believe it. But we got Mark here who says the bottom six needs to put up some points for us. Those lines are going to be a difference maker in the series. Rangers in 6. I like the thought that you have Rangers in 6, but I do agree with you. The bottom 6 does need to clutch up. That third line has only combined for 2 goals throughout the entire first round. Hopefully that'll get a little bit of a boost now that Philip Hedl is a part of it. It's going to go Hedl, Wenberg, Kakko, solid third line. And then I think it's Cooley, Goudreau, VC. So I like that bottom 6. I don't know if it beats Florida's bottom 6. In certain aspects it does, but I'm not entirely convinced that it 100% beats them. But the bottom 6 is going to be key to beating the Florida Panthers. I'm not sure if either of you have any other insight on that.
I don't know. You're right in saying that they're an incredibly deep team, and then they went out and they got deeper by adding Tarasenko for, as I've said many times before, pennies on the goddamn dollar. They got him for nothing. They're a very deep and skilled and talented team. I think that our bottom 6 can definitely hang with them. Are they better? Most likely not, but I think our top 6 is a little bit stronger than theirs is. I think it's just a matter of weathering that storm, being a physical team, and just being able to outbattle them. I know they're going to come in and just kind of toss bodies around and really just try to outmuscle you and bully you. That's just their style of play, and kind of goad you into penalties. That's exactly what they did against the Bruins, a team that's been known for kind of doing the bullying for a while. They baited a lot of penalties out of them. If you look at how it's called, Boston had like a ton more penalty minutes than the Panthers did. And a lot of them were retaliatory and things like that. It's just a matter of, playing a strong game physically and mentally, and not kind of falling into their traps and how they want you to play, and just sticking to what works. I think that's more important than getting any contributions from the bottom six, although it is a welcome thought. And with Heedle in there, it definitely does help and provides that scoring boost on that third line specifically, because they've been a really good defensive unit. But now you kind of get that offensive stimulus there by tossing in Heedle. But I think it's just a matter of staying the course, playing our game, and like I said, not falling into what they want you to do.
I think that's a really good analysis there about the Rangers not falling into what they want us to do. But I think that the bottom six will play a large role in the series. It could be the difference maker if, we're getting some extra goals from Heedle, Kakko, Cooley, anybody like that. It's going to be a big difference maker because this team is pretty reliant on its superstars. Makes sense because we have some incredible superstars. But you can't always rely on those guys. You do need contributions from the bottom six. And I think that if we get some of those clutch contributions, like in game one, if somebody in the bottom six, scores a goal, like that's going to go a long way because you have to assume that a couple of those guys in the top six are going to put up some points anyway. So anything that you get from the bottom six, it will be a huge positive. And I do think that having Filip Chytil in the lineup is going to allow the Rangers to create more opportunities. And again, since they're so good at capitalizing on the opportunities that they do create, that's really important. They just need to create more of them. I think that they were really handcuffed in the last series with Rempe and Brodzinski. They didn't have a whole lot of opportunity creation out there, but Heedle is going to help with that for sure, and I think that's going to make a big impact. But one thing that I do want to ask you guys, do you think that we're going to see Blake Wheeler in this series because he's finally been cleared to play, he's healthy, he's been a great hype man for the team. I loved the videos of the team running off after a win in the last series, and he was high-fiving everybody into the locker room, was celebrating up against the glass at the end of whenever Trocheck scored that game winner. But do you think that he actually gets on the ice and plays now that he's been cleared? Do you even want him on the ice to play? I'm curious, what you guys are thinking.
So originally when you asked the question, I shook my head no, because in my mind, I don't see Wheeler coming in and replacing anyone just like that. I think the only reason that he would ever play again this season is if there were some potential injury to the Rangers. So immediately I was like, no. But then, you think about it, the physicality that Florida brings and just how I said it earlier on the stream, just how brutal their play style is. Obviously I would never wish an injury upon the Rangers, but I would not be shocked if someone needs to take like one game off, just like one big hit from Sean Bennett. And then all of a sudden, like Kakko or VC or anyone really just needs like a day break. That's when I would see Wheeler come in. And again, I don't want to say that I think it's going to happen. I don't want to even manifest that or start to or even think about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if something in that measure happens and then Wheeler needs to step in. But let's keep our fingers crossed. I got my wood. You know the drill.
It's an interesting topic of conversation. I think they do try and get him in there just for the sake of getting him on the cup. I think you have to play in a playoff game in order to get your name on there. And at first I thought that's maybe what they were doing with Heedle, just because he missed the rest of the series after that. But now he's back, so who knows? But I think you're right in saying that it's not a bad idea to maybe get him in there just to give somebody a maintenance day, especially if they're feeling a little banged up. I don't know if I can't pull up the comments, but I know you can. Richard Sama said if Kakko can't put up points, give Wheeler a start. He's tired of waiting for Kakko. And I hear it. At the same time, Wheeler's defense isn't all that good, and Kakko's defense has been elite. They've been very good. That third line, I know Fireside put up a statistic about it on the Instagram page, and I believe on Twitter as well.
Follow it.
Give it a follow. But that line has been, I think they have the fewest expected goals against in the NHL in the playoffs so far, which is a very impressive stat given the nature of these games. Like everything is super high stakes, and players kind of know that. So for them to be going out there consistently shutting down some of the best lineups that we've played, it's impressive. But I think a guy like Wheeler could benefit this team. I think he's a big body. I think you put him in front of the net and you have him take the eyes, I think he could really benefit. I know you guys are not big Wheeler guys, and I have been this whole time. I know he wasn't the best player all season, but it's because he was forced into a role that he wasn't expecting, and nor was he ready for anymore. He used to be able to play top 6 minutes. He's just not that guy. So, I'm not opposed to him playing. If it's in the bottom 6, I like it a little bit more. But again, who comes out? It's tough. They've kind of been rolling, so I'm not saying get him in there. But I'm not opposed to it either. But that's my take.
I'm like kind of opposed to it. I like you said, like we were haters, and I think he's a great backup to have. But to disagree with what Richard said, if Kakko can't put up enough points, give Wheeler a start. No, because Kakko's job isn't to score points. He's on a very solid defensive unit. And all throughout the playoffs, that unit has shut teams down left and right. So, like, I know, like, the thing that some fans can't get out of their head is that he was drafted 2nd overall. He'll never live up to his draft capital. But I'm like, okay, like, we know that. He's not going to score like a 2nd overall pick should, but he's not a bad player. He's still a great defensive player. And I do think that what he's doing is perfect, and he's filling a role that needed to be filled. I'm sure I wish someone else did it, but I'm happy that someone's doing it at least, because if not Kakko, then who else? And I think that's like the most controversial take, because some people just see number 2 overall and they expect like 80-point seasons left and right. But like, come on, like at some point, just like accept reality. He's not going to produce like that. Let the guy do what he's good at, because he's really goddamn good at doing it. So I don't know.
He still only is, I think he's like 23.
Bro, sound like a Lego character building.
Yeah. He's 23 years old, so I'm not going to say that he can't ever get to that scoring potential either. Right now, he's super, super good defensively. But, I mean, at some point, they're saying in the chat, David Deutsch is saying he does need to show more, and I kind of agree. He needs to work on his finish. Him and Wenberg have kind of been lackluster when it comes to, like, they're really, really good at creating pressure, turnovers, and then zone time, but there's nothing that comes out of it. And I think that's kind of the frustrating part for me, at least. While they have been very good at stopping teams from scoring, they have not been very good at creating the offense itself and actually finishing on their chances. And when they have had the like literal wide open nets, they've missed. So it's like, yeah, the defense is good, but goals are also really good. So I'd like to see them get both. But,
I mean, like Richard just said, why can't Kakko play defense and still score some goals? Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see him score too, but like you could say the same exact thing about Will Cooley and Alex Wenberg, both members of that third line that do the exact same thing as Kakko, but I don't hear you complaining about either of them because they weren't drafted 2nd overall. And like, I don't want to like hate on you, Richard. Like, I appreciate your input, and I'm happy that we're having like an actual discussion about this. But like, there's a reason why you're hating on Kakko and not Will Cooley. It's because Will Cooley was drafted so much later and is a different style of player. And Kakko does the same thing that he does at the same tier, if not better. Honestly, it's just Cooley's a little bit more physical, and I like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to ask for more from a lottery pick. Like you just said, I get it.
No. Yeah, I'm not complaining about asking for more. I'm complaining about the hate that he gets. Just saying that he's like should not be in the lineup and stuff, like calling him a bust.
I think because
he's still a good hockey player.
Richard is right though. Cooley's a rookie. This is Kakko's.
And Kakko's 22. He's still a kid.
23, and he is still a kid, but he's been playing in the league for 5 years.
Okay, and how often has he been in the top 6, given a pivotal position to score?
Well, a couple times. He just keeps fumbling it.
He played earlier this season with a cold Kreider and a cold Zibanejad. What was he supposed to do?
Yeah, but just throwing it out there, they were cold when Kakko was there. Kakko is no longer on the line. They're not cold.
But they were also cold when Wheeler was there. They were cold when Cooley was there.
Well, Wheeler wasn't meant to be there.
He was there. They never heated up until after the All-Star break.
I thought Kreider was well on his way.
Well, no, Kreider redeemed himself, but Zibanejad was cold throughout the entire thing.
He was struggling.
A little bit of a coincidence is all I'm going to say.
there were like 5 different players that first line played with throughout the season, and they did not play well. And Kakko was just one minor keg in that little system that was churning, and he's the first one to be scapegoated, in my opinion. Look, I'm just gonna be straight up. We're at the point of the argument where like I think that I'm right, and no matter what you say, even if you prove me wrong, I'm not gonna acknowledge it. So it might just be best to move on.
I agree with Chris. What Chris just said.
What did Chris just say? They only gave him the top line. Oh, not the one that has actual evidence. Okay.
No, the next one.
If they gave up on Kakko, we would have Jake. Yeah, Jake Gensel. And where did that get? Carolina.
Well, Carolina exit. Put Jake Gensel on our first line, dude. He's a superstar.
I don't know.
But he's an upgrade over Roslovic. I like Roslovic, but he's an upgrade. It's a significant upgrade.
All right. Richard says that Zibanejad and Kreider have never been the same since Drury gave away Pavel Buchnevich. Correct me. What year did Kreider have his 50-something goal season? Was it post Buchnevich?
Pretty sure it was post Buchnevich.
All right, Richard. I'm done pulling up your comments.
Here comes the Lego typing here. So
he's building something.
The loudest keyword all time over here. All right, so I have the stats. I'm just trying to pull them up here. Yeah.
We only have like 10 minutes left. So once we're done chatting about this, we got to start to give our predictions and everything before we wrap up.
I'm predicting the Laviolette goal.
I like it.
He's going to score a goal.
Somehow, some way, he's going to get on the ice, slap shot, boom, banger.
Slap shot. Kreider scored 52 goals in the 21-22 season. That was the season that Buchnevich was traded. The very first season Buchnevich left.
So we get rid of Buchnevich and Kreider succeeds. I get it.
That's when Kreider started scoring 30 goals consistently. He had never done it before. Which somebody else mentioned before, that Kreider didn't start scoring. I mean, the most he'd had in the season was 28 twice, but he had never eclipsed 30 until he was 27. And now he had never eclipsed 53 points until he was 27. So,
I rest my case.
He's playing career hockey late. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying he should.
No, I know. And I know at the same time, Buchnevich also broke out as soon as leaving New York when he went to the Blues. He's been playing phenomenal hockey. I would love to see him come back. I'm really just joking around. This is the conversation that's entertaining and good, like when everyone's just not just let's go Rangers. So shout out Richard for bringing in a hot take that I could debate with. That makes me happy to see. But David asks, this will be the last thing we talk about before we start to wrap things up. Fireside Rangers, is this the best Rangers team you guys have seen since 94? I hate to break it to you, but we weren't alive in 94. I started watching in 2012. And obviously that 2014 and also 2015 team were elite. 14 made it to the finals. 15 was supposed to make it to the finals and do more because in 15 they won the President's Trophy. And as much as I love those teams and the nostalgia that those teams give me, I do have to admit I have never been more confident in the team than I am right now. Take away Game 6 of last series. Periods 1 and 2, I was down in the trenches fighting my demons. But third period, I was like, yeah. But no, I will say this team, I think, is all around the best team that I have seen on paper and on the ice in my entire life since 2012. I'll never forget the love that I had for 2012 to 2016. That'll always be my favorite Rangers team. But this is the best, and I think this might be the team that finally brings the cup back to New York.
It's a close one. I'm looking at the roster here from that 2013-14 run. They were nasty.
They were so good.
I mean, St. Louis was playing some of the most impactful hockey of his career, other than when he won that cup, obviously. I mean, he had like a resurgence with the Rangers. He was popping off. And everybody remembers that Mother's Day goal and amongst the others that he scored in the playoffs. Stepan was an absolute stud. I mean, our center depth, yeah, the guys who don't even get talked about enough. You talk about Dom Moore and Brian Boyle, two of the best bottom six centers you can get. They were just absolute studs. I mean, Dom Moore scoring the only goal in the game that sent us to the final, an absolute beauty.
Just imagine if Rick Nash knew how to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was looking at. He had 3 goals and 7 assists, and that's in 25 games played in the playoffs. That's not great. But I mean, and then you got the role players like Dan Carcillo, Derek Dorsett, Rafael Diaz, who didn't play in that many games, but he played in a couple. The D-core was absolutely loaded.
Kreider made his NHL debut in those playoffs.
It was the season before, I think, but he was lighting it up that year too.
Wasn't 2014?
No, he came. I think he played first in 2012, 2013.
What do I know?
13-14 season was the year they went to the final. But I mean, that defense: Dan Girardi, Mark Stahl, Anton Strawman, Kevin Klein, John Moore. Like, they had some absolute studs on that D-core. Letting Anton Strawman walk is still one of the things that I can't stand about Glenn Sather. He let him go for nothing. But, like, they had incredible center depth, which the Rangers have now. Their wingers, there was no question marks. Everybody was solid. And I'd say that that's the one thing that the Rangers team is lacking a little bit this year. And the D-core isn't nearly as sound as that one was. But the goaltending is good, if not better. Just because Igor's an absolute god. No shade to Hank. But Igor's that guy. I don't know. It's close. It's definitely up there. If it's not 1, it's 2. But it depends on what they do at the end. They got to get past the Panthers first. The end result will really determine, what happens here and where they fall in my ranking.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Sorry, Tony, just really quick. Whoever comes out of the East is going to win the Cup, whether it's us or Florida. I don't see Edmonton or Dallas winning it. So this is my Cup finals.
I think with Colin saying that we got to get through the Panthers first, that's obviously true. But how do we do that? Let's talk, before we wrap this thing up, what are some of the keys? I think obviously special teams are key. The Rangers have been really good on that. I do think they need to create more opportunities, take more shots. Again, I know all the stats show that high quality shots are what have been working for the Rangers and winning these series for them. But I still think more opportunities do need to be created. They can't play in such close games every single time, expecting it to break for them every single time. So I think that they do need to start putting up more shots and creating more opportunities. But what do you guys think is the biggest key to advancing?
My biggest thing is matching physicality. This Florida team is a fast-paced, hard-hitting team. And if the Rangers give any inkling of what we saw in Game 5 last series, we are going to get blown out of the water. They need to come out skating as hard as they can, hitting as hard as they can, and playing like the Stanley Cup is on the line because, like I just said, it pretty much is. In my opinion, whoever wins this series is going to go on to win the Cup. So someone's going to get hurt. There's going to be a lot of fights. There's going to be a lot of penalties. And it's up to the Rangers to match the physicality. If one of their players gets hit, get back up and hit him harder. And do not let the Florida Panthers own this series. Rangers have home ice advantage across the 7 games. Use that to your advantage. Use your home crowd. Set the tone early and keep that momentum going.
I think that's well put. For me, it's protecting home ice. The Rangers have been very good at home for the last couple seasons. So not counting last year. But going back to the year we went to the conference final, and lost against Tampa, they were good up until that point at home as well. I think making sure that you are able to get your wins in Madison Square Garden is super important because it is like an extra player out there. We talk about it all the time, that the momentum swings that a crowd can cause and how important, especially I feel like in hockey, it's the most important is that home ice advantage here. I agree with what Eric said, matching that physicality. I agree with what Tony said about peppering the goal with shots, getting a lot more shots. I think that Bobrovsky's playing very well, but he lets up a lot of rebounds and he puts him in a bad spot sometimes. And yeah, he's made some incredible saves to get out of him, but that's not going to be the case always. I think it's important to just kind of make sure that you're taking his eyes and shooting and then creating chaos in front and then being able to bury home those rebounds or whatnot. Obviously working it around and just making sure that you're tiring out these guys. They're a deep team, and it's going to be our toughest battle yet. But we took out the odds-on favorite to win the cup already in Carolina, so I don't see why we can't go ahead and win this series. I think it's just important that, as I said before, we stick to our game and what's been working and not fall into their trap of what they want us to do, which is exactly what Boston did, and it's exactly why Boston is currently on a golf course. So.
Yep. And I will say Carolina was favored to win the cup. We beat them, but still Vegas hates New York. Of the 4 teams remaining, the Rangers do have the lowest odds to hoist the cup. So shout out Vegas. I have to say the word shout out because we're a family-friendly channel. But we all know who the real favorite is, right? But we're going to start to wrap up this stream in just a few minutes. But that means that it's time for us to give our official predictions before we get into the parlay. So while we do our predictions, leave yours down in the live chat and we'll have them flash across the screen as we go. I'll go off with a quick start. I think both of these goaltenders are phenomenal, world-class talent, but it might take them a game or two to really just settle into how intense this series is going to be. So I'm obviously going to go with the Rangers win, but I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring. I'm going to go with 4-3 Rangers in regulation. I don't think we're getting overtime. Fingers crossed we don't get overtime because I have work tomorrow. 4-3 Rangers in regulation. Game-winning goal scored by yours truly, Vincent Trocheck.
That's the Tony I was looking for.
Yeah.
I probably got to be in 3-1. I think that the goalies are just going to play out of their minds this entire series. And you think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be low-scoring. I think that you saw a lot of the high-scoring games in the last series. You know, putting up 4 goals a game is tough to do, and the Panthers are kind of lighting up Boston. So I think that this series is going to be a little bit more defensive. I think that it's really going to rely on our D-core to kind of play our game, as I mentioned a million times now. So I have it being 2-1 late, empty netter for the Rangers. 3-1 final.
Valid.
Yeah, I'm taking 3-2. I also think it's going to be a low-scoring series. If you look at Florida, their statistics all throughout the regular season and postseason, they have the best goaltending percentages. They have the best defensive statistics. They've been very good at keeping the puck out of the net. And despite that, I think that the Rangers have been very good at maximizing their opportunities and finding high-quality moments to score. So I think they're going to win 3-2 in regulation. And like you, I think that Vincent Trocheck is going to be the difference maker. But the true difference maker, we must never forget, throughout the entirety of the season, has been and will continue to be Peter Laviolette.
We all love Peter Laviolette. But the last thing that we need to do before we end the live stream is to create tonight's NHL parlay. So it's going to be a 3-leg parlay. We each come up with 1 leg. So I'm going to start. And again, I feel like I have to do it just because Will's not here. Igor Shesterkin, anytime goal scorer.
Eric loves taking the easy handout one.
Oh, like I feel sympathy for Will. Can we? No, we're gonna make it a 4-leg. I don't care. I'm the host. I'm gonna do what I want. That's my first one. My second one is Kakko over 2.5 goals.
Fair enough. You took mine. I was gonna do Hedl hat trick.
Just say it then. We can score 7 goals.
I'm changing. Hedl hat trick. We're gonna have 6 goals from the 2 kids.
And then plus an Igor one.
Plus an Igor one.
And then whatever Tony's about to say.
3 assists from Trocheck.
3 assists from Trocheck.
Realistic leg.
I like it. So that's the parlay. Make sure you bet your mortgage on it, as always. But that about wraps up today's pregame live stream for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll be doing this pretty much every single game day, around an hour before game time. So if you did enjoy, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss notification for whenever that might be. Once again, the live chat is going to end as soon as we're done ending the stream, but the comment section will stay open. We'll read all your comments and respond to them throughout the games. So throughout the game. If there's anything that happens that you really want to talk about or bring up, or any notable moments you want to talk about in tomorrow's recap episode, highlight it, send it to us, DM us, all that good stuff. Lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. We'll be giving you pretty much like hourly updates throughout the game and throughout the remainder of the playoffs. So be sure to check those out if you really love Rangers content, specifically from us. But once again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers!